Welcome to the San Francisco Public Library Commission meeting for November 21st, 2024. The time is 4:30. I'm Margot Schaub, and I serve as the Library Commission Affairs Analyst. This meeting is being held in person in the main library Cret Auditorium. Members of the public can observe the meeting using the Zoom system by following the link in the library's event calendar or by calling 1-877-853-5247 and entering Zoom ID number 850-5297-6892. Members of the public who are attending the meeting in person may provide public comment for up to 3 minutes for each item on the agenda. Library commissioners in attendance are President Connie Wolf, Vice President Pete Wong, Commissioners Ono, Mall, Lopez, and Bolander.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the November 21st, 2024 meeting of the San Francisco Public Library Commission. We are pleased to welcome those of you here bearing this potential storm here in Cret, and we welcome our virtual audience over Zoom. We have a full meeting ahead, and we will start with the Ramaytush Ohlone land acknowledgement. The area now known as San Francisco is the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the original peoples of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place. We recognize that we benefit from living, working, and learning on their traditional homeland. As uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. If you have not already done so, all the materials for this meeting are available on the Library Commission webpage or here in the Cret Auditorium on the back ledge. We have a total of 6 agenda items for today's meeting, and today we will begin with general public comment. At this time, we invite members of the public here in Cret to address the Commission on items of interest that are within our subject matter jurisdiction. You have an opportunity to address the Commission on any of the specific agenda items when that item is called. So we now welcome you to participate in the general public comment here in Cret.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association. Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. I come to these meetings in the hopes of a number of things, but the main thing is I care about the library as an important institution that has contributed greatly to my education and understanding of the world and of others, and I think is of tremendous value to society for its potential to enlighten and entertain and provide greater understanding to the folks in our democracy. And when I'm concerned about things the library does that diminish that role or are contradictory to that role, it distresses me, and I want to point that out to you for presumably correction or improvement. This is the 3rd anniversary, approximately, of Frances Haugen going before the Senate to talk about the toxicity of Facebook. She was a high-level leader at Facebook, and she, to put it politely, said Facebook prioritizes profits over safety. The Surgeon General of the United States has said that Facebook is harmful to the mental health of teenagers in particular, not to speak of other folks. So the toxicity of social media, including Facebook in particular, is something that concerns me because not just that it's out there, but that the library and its head seem to think that it's extremely important to continually tout the internet in general and Facebook and other such social media in particular uncritically. I'm not saying get rid of it or block it. I'm saying to tout it uncritically at the same time that you don't tout in the same way your own tremendous valuable holdings is very wrong and a disservice to the public, not to speak of the big privacy issues involved. I did visit the book stop that was recently installed in the Bayview, and I thought it was a pretty unfortunate and sad degradation of library service. It was in a narrow hallway next to the garbage. It didn't give any instructions or any indication what it was connected to, what specifically it was good for, or the larger library, which is so rich in many things, but this was not. It was basically a bookcase with books accessible to get or return. Problematic.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment? Hearing Correct?
Hello, Commissioners. Hi, I'm Michael Vincent from Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. And I just have a few updates that we're really excited about that I'd love to tell you about today. First, we have our annual appeal going out this week. Inspired by two incredible things, the new statue outside by Lava Thomas and our One City, One Book selection. It also centers Maya Angelou. She is at the heart of this appeal and celebrating her profound impact on the city and on our literary community. Next, I am thrilled to announce that we've officially closed out the year with another squeaky clean audit. A huge thank you to our finance team and our board for making that possible. Their diligence helps keep us strong, give us a strong foundation to look ahead for another exciting year of fundraising. And finally, we're launching something new, something very exciting this week, which will be our very own e-commerce store. This store will feature library-themed merchandise that celebrates the magic of reading and our community. And stay tuned for more details. We are sure you're going to love it. Great to see you all.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment? Seeing there's no further public comment, general public comment, we now close item agenda number 1, and we now move to item number 2, which is discussion and possible action to approve the October Commission meeting minutes. We will begin with public comment and then continue to discussion at the commission and possible voting. So at this point, we open public comment regarding the October Commission meeting minutes.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. I'm glad to see such interest in what I have to say for my meager 3 minutes from Commissioner Bolander, who seems to be reading something very assiduously and paying no attention whatsoever, rather pointedly. That's not what you're here for. You're here to set policy and presumably to have some interest in what the public might be informing you about. With respect to the minutes, these unfortunately are once again basically suffocating things that I have said and important things that I have said. On general public comment, you've once again left out Facebook, the specifics, and the specific people that I've mentioned, such as the Surgeon General, about the toxicity of Facebook. And above all, it's not that the library promotes social media as though that's something neutral. The issue is that I've said that the library should not uncritically tout social media, which are highly toxic in a variety of ways to the library's public. You're harming the library's public, including kids, when you just uncritically tout it in your publicity and you're at the library and so on. That's the key that you've completely blurred out and made disappear. On approval of the minutes, censored, as I understand it, means you cut out or leave out what somebody says, or either completely or at least in part. You certainly do that in part, but there's a lot more that happens. You basically misrepresent, you distort actively what I have said so that it drains out the particular point that I'm making when it's critical to the library. You only like hoorays and hurrahs, which you do sometimes give me credit for saying. Those are key things. And at adjournment, I once again said, and it's important what I've said, you should do what you've done before and what others still do, which is have an agenda, not adjourn until you have an agenda item saying what you'd like to see on future agendas. I also commented on some of the controversy surrounding Martin Paley, which Commissioner Bolander actually confirmed and spoke about as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any further public comment regarding the meeting minutes from October? Seeing no further comment, public comment is now closed on this agenda item, and I turn it over to my fellow commissioners. If anyone has any corrections or comments, otherwise, is there somebody who would like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, considering that these are minutes and not a word-for-word transcript, I move to approve the minutes as shown.
And do we
Second.
have a second? Oh, so we have a motion from Commissioner Huang and a second from Commissioner Ono to approve the meeting minutes from October.
I'll call the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. President Wolf,
Aye.
Vice President Huang,
Aye.
Commissioner Ono,
Aye.
Commissioner Mall,
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez,
Aye.
Commissioner Bolander.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So now we move to item number 3, which is discussion and possible action on the Drag Laureate Grant Agreement Extension. And for this presentation and discussion, I turn this over to City Librarian Michael Lambert. Thank you.
Thank you, President Wolf, and good evening, Library Commissioners, library staff. Appreciate the opportunity to bring this discussion and possible action item for you to consider approval of a contract extension for the Drag Laureate. You may recall in the spring of 2023, the library partnered with the Mayor's Office and the Human Rights Commission to announce the city's first Drag Laureate, Darcy Drollinger. Appointed to serve as spokesperson for the San Francisco's LGBTQ+ community, as well as produce and participate in events and programs that celebrate the city's rich drag history and diversity. Our Chief of Community Programs and Partnerships, Michelle Jeffers, and our CFO, Mike Fernandez, they're both here to provide you an overview of this prospective contract extension and answer any questions to assist with your deliberation. Michelle?
Thank you, Michael. Again, Michelle Jeffers, Chief of Community Programs and Partnerships. Delighted to be here today to ask for this 6-month extension. Michael made many of the points I was going to make, but I was also going to note that this appointment, being the first city in the world to announce a Drag Laureate, was a clear recognition of the importance of San Francisco's drag and gay community, really, and the bringing together of the city around joy and diverse celebration. So the position was officially launched with Darcy being the first ever appointed Drag Laureate by the mayor in May of 2023. Darcy, who is a choreographer and an actor and a writer and a producer and also a small business owner who owns the Oasis nightclub that employs 200 people in the city. And so she was really an excellent choice as the city has, continued to want to support its businesses and bring the community back together post-COVID. So it was really an excellent choice. And in fact, I did want to highlight that during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, Darcy's Oasis built a parklet and partnered with local restaurants for sidewalk drag shows. And she also created Meals on Heels, which employed out-of-work drag artists who delivered food, cocktails, and socially distanced lip-sync performances to clients who needed a little sparkle during shelter-in-place. The justification, really, for the need for this extension is that as a person who also assisted in setting up this initial process for the Drag Laureate, thanks to our own expertise in doing the city's Poet Laureate program, I can affirm the challenge that there is in selecting a new laureate and ensuring there's extensive community outreach to ensure diverse representation to all aspects of our community. It takes a tremendous amount of time to pull together a selection committee and ensure the city is using culturally competent communications and outreach efforts. It's vitally important to create a well-planned process that doesn't result in more questions than it answers. And we always knew in appointing a first drag laureate that we wanted to put some of that pressure back on the new laureate to help us to develop a better process. We answered many, many questions, and the process took an incredibly long time to do the first time. And so we felt like someone who is of the drag community and has held that position would be instrumental in helping us shape the policy going forward. So I do think there's lessons to be imparted, particularly by Darcy themselves in this role, and the 6 months extension will give us the runway to really build a new selection committee and improve the process.
Thanks, Michelle. And so I'm here to talk a little bit about kind of why we're here, the legal structure. Chapter 21G was amended a few years ago, which governs the way city departments can issue grant agreements. And every department that has a board or commission must bring any sole source action to that body. So that's why we're here today and asking you to take this possible action. Prior to this, why you didn't see these before is prior to this amendment, this was not a requirement to bring this before you. And so we're here today. And so in addressing the sole source requirements, for the 6-month extension, we really, sought to really explain for all of you why this is necessary. As you heard, there's only been one San Francisco drag laureate, and in listening to all the reasons, their perspective is sufficiently unique that we really could not have anyone else in this process that would bring the same perspective to the table. And also, we did envision this in the beginning. That's why this was included in the original scope. And so we'd always kind of envisioned this person to be involved in this process. We did look at a lot of alternatives. We tried to find any other drag laureates out there. I know we were the first, but we were looking to see if there were any others out there that maybe could fill this role. Could we do a competitive process to carry out this final 6 months? The answer is really no. There hasn't been anyone that's served a full term that we could find. And so even if we tried to bid this out in a competitive process, we don't believe we'd get any real respondents that would meet that qualification. We also considered if we were to select somebody outside of the San Francisco community, what would that mean for the process itself? If they didn't have that qualification of either having been the drag laureate or someone who has been a drag laureate but not part of the San Francisco community, what would that do to the process? And would that potentially harm the process itself and harm its credibility? And the risk of that, we thought, was too great to really impart now. We also, if we were to now pursue a competitive process, obviously that would also create a little bit of a longer lapse in having this process kick off, because we would wait for that whole selection process to play out. That process is not short. And so also extending this period, we didn't think was in the city's interest. So we did look at the alternatives, and we did not find any compelling reason to try to go a different route. And so really with that, short and sweet, we thank you. Just really want to, again, emphasize all the points that Michelle and Michael made about how critical this position really is to the community, how it increases the visibility, the cultural enrichment, and all the economic benefits that this laureate's already bestowed upon the city. And really this extension is in the city's interest and in the library's interest, and that's why we bring it to you. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael and Michelle. Before we bring this to commission discussion and possible vote, we will open it up to public comment here in Corrett Auditorium. Public comment on this agenda item is now open.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com. and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. As often is the case, I don't very often object to what library does as much as what sometimes I think the library doesn't do. So in this case, leaving apart any kind of legal or other kinds of considerations, $18,000 for 6 months' work comes to about, well, it comes to $36,000 a year. If we are counting a 40-hour week, that's $18 an hour, which is pretty close to or maybe even under the minimum wage in San Francisco. My question is, does this in any way relate to the minimum wage in San Francisco? And if so, in what way? Is this a union job? Are there benefits? I know that the commissioners, as I understand it, get benefits, such as health benefits, from the city, even though they don't get a salary. In this case, there's money being given to somebody to provide services that are valuable to the library. Does that person get benefits? To my mind, there's also a question of equity and emphasis, and that is, what do our poet laureate, literary laureates get for their efforts on behalf of the city and presumably the library as well? They've certainly been here at the library doing programming as well. So I would say, as I understand it, as I said, I don't believe they're getting paid anything for being the laureates in their realm. And I think you might want to consider giving them equity with this position as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment? Seeing there's no further public comment, public comment's now closed on item number 3, and I turn it over to the commission. I just want to be clear that we're voting on just a 6-month extension. This is not a discussion about whether the drag laureate is up for discussion. I mean, I don't think it's really up for discussion. It's really just fulfilling this final push of the drag laureate's position. Can I just ask a quick question? Does this mean that moving forward, if there is a second drag laureate, that it would be a 2-year, it would start as 2 years and not as 18 months?
I think I would definitely make that recommendation, which is a recommendation that Michael and I made when this project originally started.
Thank you.
This is just to approve the resolution.
Right, yes. And the extension. Any further questions, comments?
Yes, I feel like we're missing some background information on this. What was can you remind us of the original grant amount for the 18-month period?
The original grant amount was $55,000 for 18 months. It's exactly the same as the poet laureate.
Okay. And sorry, I think I lost track of this in your presentation. What's the origin of this extension? Like, what happened here that required us to extend?
So in learning a lot about the process and having a new drag laureate and needing to engage with them to do this, we haven't quite got to that point. So to do a new selection process.
Gotcha. So it's like delays basically
Yes.
with this that like, okay. 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 I suppose I have no further questions. I will say just to state my position, I'm not sure that I like this particular reasoning. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily like, anyways, you could probably tell where I'm going with this, but I'll defer to any other comments or questions.
If I may, Vice President Wong, as additional context and background, the initial drag laureate was paid a prorated amount that is commensurate with the poet laureate, which is a 3-year term. And in working with the mayor's office and the Human Rights Commission to structure this initial drag laureate, I believe people had the best of intentions that this initial drag laureate would be for 18 months. And I think originally there was this desire to have more frequent turnover perhaps in the position. And to our staff's credit, we know how much work goes into making something like this happen and just, carrying out all the steps, dotting the i's, crossing the t's, convening a selection committee. But because this was so new, this may not be any more satisfying of an answer, but I think because this was so new and structured in such an ambitious way, we ended up falling short of being able to be prepared to select another drag laureate at the conclusion of this 18 months. So that's why we're here.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
Just for clarification, so the extension basically is to prepare policies and search committee and to develop a consistent plan for prospective or future poet laureates, right? So,
Drag laureates.
drag, yeah, drag laureates, yeah, thank you. So, and understanding that the resolution is to just extend duties and responsibilities would be tailored during that extension.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Mall?
I had a question, which I might have missed in the presentation too. Did you mention that it's in the city's economic interest to have a drag laureate? Could you explain that, if you said that?
I think she said that.
Sure. There's a couple kind of rationales for why it's in that city's economic interest. One, in particular, this laureate is someone who's a small business owner, and as you'd heard before, was doing parklets and other economic activities that kind of directly, enhance the city's economic outlook. By their participation, but just in general, having the visibility and having an ambassador like this just promotes the city in a different way, in a new way that increases the city's visibility. And a city like San Francisco, that's generally within our interest to get our name out there even more in positive lights. Being an ambassador to communities outside of San Francisco is part of the laureate's responsibilities. And so kind of just creating that vibrancy, enhancing the art, highlighting the art and culture that we have in the city is all part of kind of their responsibilities. And so we see it that way.
So was it ever considered like just to have somebody during Pride Week or month or whatever, just like that, as opposed to?
I believe that there was a feeling that it should echo the poet laureate and be as significant as the city's poet laureate, and recognizing how important the drag culture is for San Francisco.
Okay, so I hate to be too simplistic here, but a poet laureate creates poems, right? I'm still not getting exactly what the drag laureate does.
A drag laureate could be an entertainer too, or community ambassador, a performer. The role was always to do things. They may not be writing poetry. They might be writing a song, developing a new dance. But they were also going to be a public figure that is part of an ambassador for the city and part of the life of the city, and creating new things that draw favorable light on San Francisco. And
So this is virtually going to be an ongoing position in the city?
yes, that's the plan, is that the city needs a drag laureate just like it needs a poet laureate.
Okay, any further comment from the commissioners? If not, do we have a motion to approve the extension of the drag laureate grant agreement?
Like to move?
We have a motion from Commissioner Lopez. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we have a motion from Commissioner Lopez and a second from Commissioner Bolander to approve the contract extension for the drag laureate grant.
I will call the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. President Wolf.
Aye.
Vice President Wong.
Can I abstain?
Sure.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ono.
Aye.
Commissioner Mall.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez,
Aye.
Commissioner Bolander.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
We now turn to item number 4, which is a discussion on the annual report, which is right here, very exciting. So I turn the meeting over to City Librarian Michael Lambert for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, President Wolf. It's my pleasure to introduce this next agenda item, the presentation of the library's FY24 annual report. This past fiscal year has been another banner year for the organization as we've set a new post-pandemic high for foot traffic and eclipsed a new all-time record for circulation, topping 14 million for the first time ever. Most importantly, we're meeting the mark for satisfying our residents' level of satisfaction for library programs and services. And now I'd like to introduce our Acting Director of Communications, Jamie Wong, who will share more about this past fiscal year and our impact on the community. Jamie?
Yes, thank you so much, Michael. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, thank you. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamie Wong, and I serve as the Acting Director of Communications here at the library. I'm very pleased to present our annual report for fiscal year 2023-24. There you go. This year, to center our strategic plan, Vision 2030, our graphic designer has used it as the visual theme for our annual report. In these pages, you will find the many accomplishments and milestones that SFPL has made over the past fiscal year. It contains a number of data visualizations thanks to the incredible work of our research strategy and analytics unit. And it's brimming with gorgeous photographs that we hope capture just a taste of the engagement, enrichment, and of course, the fun that we offer our public. As per usual, this is a draft of the report. The final version will be available in December, and it will be available both in print as well as on our website. First, I'd like to highlight SFPL's year in review. Often at the library, we're eagerly anticipating what's coming up next. What new programs, new services, new resources we're bringing forth to the public. However, the annual report is a terrific opportunity for us to take stock of the past 12 months. And what a year it's been. Let me give you a few of the highlights. Project READ turned 40 years old and celebrated by bringing together the many members of the community who have helped to make this program the success that it is today. Bay Beats, SFPL's amazing free local music streaming platform, and award-winning, more on that during the City Librarian's Report, launched just last fall. There are so many worthy highlights that are included in this year in review, including our Read to Recovery launch, which was our free-to-keep recovery literature that's offered in several of our locations. Our first ever BIPOC Kidlit Fest, which featured award-winning Kidlit author Christina Sornternvat. The main library's participation in I Love Tenderloin, which included an open house, a resource fair, and a small business boogie in the Tenderloin. Our partnership with City Arts and Lectures to bring in sociologist and author Matthew Desmond, who spoke about his book, Poverty by America. And of course, the many valuable programs we do in support of our LGBTQIA+ community, which includes Pride and Panels, which was an inaugural showcase of San Francisco Bay Area comic arts creators, LGBTQIA comic arts creators. We also focused on how we've invested in SF Arts scene with incredible exhibits and artist in residence projects that tell the often unheard stories of our local and diverse photographers, printmakers, and multimedia creators, including Ralph Chesse, a San Francisco Century, and Mission Graphica. We are truly a place where people can go to discover, explore, and learn. Okay, moving a little bit into the data portion. We had a 42% increase in youth programs this year. Including story times, we hosted a whopping 238,000 people at our youth programs. Our adult programs increased by 56% and saw almost 127,000 people attend. We also tracked our in-person traffic across all locations. We saw nearly 4 million visits over the year, with the highest month being March, with 372,000 visits. I wanted to add here that last year's in-person visits was 3.4 million, so the percentage increase is 17%. Additionally, our circulation reached a record high of 14 million last year, or this past fiscal year. You can see that SFPL patrons almost equally love print and ebooks, but not quite, with physical circulation reaching 7.5 million and e-circulation at 6.5 million. This is one of my favorite parts of the annual report. What were people reading and listening to and watching? It's always interesting to see what's trending. Last fiscal year, Taylor Swift took one of the top 5 spots, and she took the top 3 spots this year. What I think is really noticeable about this data is that our patrons understand that current popular music is findable and free and streamable at the library. A number of our on the same page book club selections, such as Javier Zamora's Solito, Matthew Desmond's compelling treatise Poverty by America, and T. Kira Madden's revealing memoir Long Live the Tribe of Fatherless Girls, landed on the top 5 print nonfiction list, which shows that our book clubs really do help to drive readership. And just like last year, Dogman Dave Pilkey captured all 5 spots on the kids list. On to the budget. The annual report highlights our remarkable $199,430,000 annual budget for fiscal year 2023-24. The bulk of our costs are for our dedicated staff, but also our vital collections that we maintain. Additionally, Friends of the Library provided grant funds of $915,000, supporting the library's incredible array of public programs that help us fulfill each and every one of our strategic priorities: literacy champion, cultural amplifier, community catalyzer, thoughtful navigator, and resource provider. Something new for you all this year, our research strategy and analytics unit launched a customer satisfaction survey, and we're proud to say that we scored a 9 out of 10, which is an A in my book, in all categories. On the y-axis, you can kind of see all of the different categories, such as staff assistance, physical materials, safety and security, technology, the website, programs, classes, and events. But I would like to particularly highlight that staff assistance rated the highest as a 9.4. So our patrons are really excited and thrilled with the service that they receive here. To conclude, I wanted to spotlight that we added to this year's report some of the voices of our patrons who wrote some very heartfelt responses to our prompt, "How has the library impacted your life?" I invite you to enjoy the many testimonials throughout the annual report, which give a clear picture of the myriad ways that we provide service excellence to San Francisco and beyond. Thank you so much, and as I mentioned before, the final report will be coming to you in December.
Thank you, Jamie. And I just want to echo the recognition of the Friends and Foundation of the San Francisco Public Library for their generous support this past year that made so many of the wonderful programs possible, helping us to amplify joy and wonder and just spark delight in our residents' lives. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Jamie. Before we open this up for commission discussion, we now open this up for public discussion here in Corrett Auditorium. So if there's anyone who would like to make public comment regarding the presentation on the annual report, public comment is now open.
Hi, Margot. Shall I start? I would be remiss if I didn't underline the wonderful achievements of our SFPL workforce. I wanted to shine a spotlight on just some of the classifications who are the bedrock of our culture. The 2708s are custodians, our 8207s are building and grounds patrol officers, and our library pages are 3602s, who all make such a difference in our lives here. Service excellence isn't an accident. It derives from training and a commitment to professionalism. These achievements, mind you, are not without cost. Vacancies, that is, not being fully staffed, is a chronic condition for our members. And then getting adequate coverage in the face of short staffing is another derivative problem. And finally, the procurement of ex-vacant position to be used to fill Y vacant position is yet another. And not to mention work-related injuries due to this process. This is not acceptable. 2024 was an important year for our workforce as we look back on the year. We negotiated a new contract, a huge undertaking. Accordingly, we held a number of unity rallies with other city departments where we prioritized labor concerns. And we held our own library rally where we came together outside the main steps advocating for, among other things, safe work environments for our workers. Make no mistake, we take pride in the achievements of our members in our workforce. The annual report does a lovely job showcasing that. That said, we looked with management to deal with these issues we shared and rectifying said problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment?
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544, for those who prefer to communicate privately by U.S. Postal Service. There's a great deal in here. There's not enough time to say all that I would like. The first thing to be said is that there are some interesting statistics. Patron satisfaction. I'm glad to see, and it's certainly my concurring experience, that staff assistance is the top rated for satisfactory or excellent service. The lowest, not surprisingly to me, is your secret cut of hours everywhere in the system post-COVID. Touting every library every day, you haven't talked about, and neither have you guys discussed or approved, the library's cutting of evening hours, which have always been in almost every branch survey that the library has done every 5 years. People have wanted more evening and more weekend hours. What you've done instead is you've cut the hours, and it is the worst. It's at the very bottom of the patron satisfaction list. You haven't shown any comparisons with prior years. I remember when the main library itself had 5 million visitors, according to your statistics. One would expect that there would be much more comparison of budgets, of circulation, and so on and so forth, including what we heard orally spoken about improvements. I'm very concerned about books and materials for the library patrons. You have merged that with another issue so that it's impossible to tell what you have spent for materials for the public, and especially what you've spent on e-materials and print. As I understand it from previous reports, the library has spent more on e-books every year for at least 4 years, and yet the circulation of print is still higher than e-books. Print is very strong. Print is accessible to everyone. Not everyone has access to electronic materials, especially when you have to have a particular setup. And the library itself doesn't give, for example, a Kindle, and it has obviously limited hours if a person doesn't have electronic access. So those are some of the issues that I see that I'd like to see in future.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment? So with no further public comment's now closed on item number 4, and I bring this back to the commission. Jamie, thank you very much for your great presentation. I know that this was an incredible amount of work, but actually this is the work of the entire staff. I mean, but it's a beautiful and very graphic presentation. So any comments, thoughts? It's impressive is all I can say. Yes, Commissioner Bolander.
So you mentioned that the patron satisfaction survey, that's the first year we've done this? Is that true or no?
In this particular form,
In this particular format?
yes.
And is this something we're going to continue on every year, I'm assuming, Randy? Okay.
I think it's continuous, continually going.
Continue, okay.
That's correct.
All right. Because, yeah, I mean, just in terms of amazing that we could pull something like this off in terms of just satisfaction. And, you know, there's always got to be a bottom thing, and we have to work on all the bottom things, but it's great that the patrons really feel the staff is doing exceptional work, which they always do. And I do find it interesting that physical and digital materials are like within a 100th. It's pretty close. So this bodes really well, and I'm glad we're going to do this continuously. That was my question. Okay, thank you.
Any further comments, questions? Okay, Commissioner Lopez.
I have to agree with Commissioner Pounder. Just like Borlander, I just like it's a we're even. And I like the numbers. My question is, do we have similar per branch? Or something like branch satisfaction survey or something that indicators? And I'm in the belief that, like if something is working well, we want to keep it. But if something needs to improve, like it would be nice to know which branches need additional support. And also knowing that San Francisco is very diverse in terms of pockets of population and who visits. I was just curious if there's such a data. If there isn't, that's fine, something to consider for the future, but.
It's coming. It's coming is the short answer. This is the first year we've had, to Commissioner Bolander's point, the first year we've had this type of survey continuously in this format. We do it monthly. It has all of this series of questions. It also has a rotating battery of questions that digs more deeply into each of these components. That happens twice a year as part of the survey. We just are about to finish year 1 of this survey. We're also asking, because we have 28 locations, which is your home branch? And so we don't yet have statistically significant data on that, but it's coming very quickly, right? So I think that this is representing about 5,000 responses at this point over the course of 1 year. And so we're slowly getting there. Some branches might have, like the Maine probably has enough at this point, but some of our smaller branches do not have enough statistically significant information at this point to draw those conclusions just yet. But I suspect if we come back next year at this time, we would have all of that available for you. Yep. I think there are other departments who do it. I don't know off the top of my head who's doing it to this extent or how frequently, but it wouldn't surprise me if some of the larger departments are doing something like this. Yeah.
Commissioner Ono.
Hi. I know you said this is a draft, but to me, this looks almost like a final, but there's a lot of work that's been put into this, so I just want to thank everyone who's been involved, but also just the staff in general. You can tell from the satisfaction that what you guys all mean to the city. So I just wanted to just say thank you and give a shout out to staff. Thanks.
Commissioner Huang.
I'll just double down on those comments. This is visually stunning, this report, so thank you, and thank you for the team that's working on this. And of course, a second shout out to the staff. It is like crazy to have anyone, any group of any dimension score a 9.41 out of 10 on any survey. Like, people aren't that happy about things in the world, you know what I mean? And like, of course, it would be the SFPL staff who are creating that type of response. So huge props to the staff.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Randy. I think behind the scenes, your team did a lot of this data crunching. But then, Jamie, your team made it look really terrific, interesting, and digestible. So I know it is a team effort, and I just want to thank the entire team. Also, just want to comment on Michael's socks that they add to the color of the whole document. And so just want to say thank you. And we look forward to more reports. And it would be, maybe, Randy, when you feel like you've got enough data for the kind of in-depth diving, you could come back to the commission with some of that information for us to learn more. And obviously, it will help inform the rest of the staff on what they're doing. Oh, Commissioner Lopez.
Echo everything that has been said. Thank you so much for the great work. One of the things that I want to acknowledge, because usually when we think of libraries or the public usually thinks of librarians, but cleanness and maintenance receive a high rating, is like number 4, which means that custodian services and all the work that they do, knowing that these are public places and in some cases heavy traffic, I'm really like looking at that and it's like, wow, everyone is working together. And to me, I feel like it's a team effort. It's not, like handing in books and everything. Is the environment is everything. So I just wanted to say that.
Great. Thank you so much for adding that. I think you can report back to your teams and all the teams here that the commission, all of us commissioners are incredibly grateful, indebted, and really we're so great to be in your orbit and what you do and the kind of care that you give to everyday moments for our patrons, whether they're online or in person. So thank you so much. We will now move on to item number 5, which is,
City Library.
it is time for the man with he's wearing gray socks today, so it's not. So this is item number 5, which is the discussion on the city librarian's report.
Thank you, President Wolf. I am wearing a colorful tie today to help make up for the drab socks. We do have a number of reports this evening, and I'm pleased to introduce our first presenter, Jen Wu, Family Engagement Coordinator, with a presentation on our annual event, KidQuake.
Thank you. I'm here to present KidQuake to you, but also the credit is due to Ileana Pulu, who is my colleague and also was the liaison between KidQuake and the library. So props to her as I start this. Okay, good evening, commissioners. I am excited to share out an annual event through partnerships with KidQuake that fosters a lifelong love of reading and writing and centers diverse voices in children's literature as part of the librarian's report. KidQuake consists of 2 days of in-person talks and meet and greets with a diverse array of BIPOC children's book creators, paired with activities run by the Bay's best interactive educators. Each student leaves with a new book, and teachers receive a bag of books and other goodies for their classrooms. For 2 days, over 900 students, teachers, and chaperones visited the main library to take part in their part of the literary festival. Attendees are welcomed into the Correct by SFPL librarians, and the talks were moderated by KidQuake Executive Director Nora Peel, who did a fantastic job, in my opinion. 1 hour-long presentations are curated for upper elementary and lower elementary, featuring 2 to 3 authors. So on Thursday, authors included Nidhi Chanani with her latest release of Super Boba Cafe, and May Respicio with her latest Isabel in Bloom. Nidhi and May were joined on stage with author-illustrator Bo Liu, who participated in a hilarious draw-off. It was hilarious because the students challenged Bo and Needy with suggestions on what they would like to draw, and they had really creative suggestions. On Friday, authors Minnie Fan, with her latest illustrated release, Simone, authored by Viet Thanh Nguyen, and Dr. Janae Brown-Wood, with her latest book, Jam 2, were joined by Jenny Swerdlow, founder and, sorry, my alarm to go home just went off. We're joined by Jenny Swerdlow, founder and chief rhythm activator of MAATR Drum Rhythmic Events. Attendees were welcomed into the Correct by SFPL librarians, and the talks were moderated by Litquake Executive Director Nora Peel. I think it's a repeat on my script there. We'll go back to the next slide. After a brief break, select classes participate in hands-on workshops with some of the Bay Area's best early education writing teachers. These generative workshops help students harness the energy of the presentations to create writing work projects on the spot, either poems, character sketches, persuasive, and personal narratives. Every single seat is filled in the auditorium in the Correct with students. As you can see here, SFUSD classes are given priority to register and attend. Classes this year represented diverse elementary school communities throughout the city, including Dolores Huerta, Glen Park, Redding, Sanchez, Sutro, Clarendon, E.R. Taylor, and New Traditions, amongst other schools. The opportunity to bring together BIPOC authors that center BIPOC stories and share them with BIPOC students is a unique one. Litquake volunteers and library staff support the event in a plethora of ways. We are honored to continue to welcome students and teachers into library spaces for high-quality programming available through wonderful partnerships like Litquake.
Thanks, Jen. And we have another presentation coming up, another festival. We just love to fest it out. And I have Ruben Balderas here, our early literacy coordinator, with a presentation on our annual Tricycle Music Fest.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm here to share about our 13th edition of the Tricycle Music Fest program series, which took place at various libraries throughout the month of October. The Tricycle Music Fest program series consists of children's music concerts offering young children and their families an opportunity to rock, play, and learn at the library. In addition to the fun of singing, dancing, and music, Tricycle Music Fest shows offer book giveaways, and at each program, one lucky raffle winner takes home a shiny red tricycle, which is a lot of fun. Bringing these programs to the library locations across the city, Tricycle Music Fest supports the library's mission to connect our diverse communities to learning, opportunities, and each other, and the library's values of equity, community, and exploration. So equity by providing access to live music for free, strengthening our communities by inviting people to come together to engage, inspire, celebrate, and learn from each other, and exploration as these performances offer concrete learning experiences, along with encouraging imaginations and following one's curiosities. Tricycle Music Fest centers the library as literacy champions, cultural amplifiers, community catalyzers, thoughtful navigators, and resource providers. It hits them all. For championing literacy, music and singing are some of the key early childhood developmental tools for developing pre-literacy skills, such as phonemic awareness, the ability to identify, think about, and work with the individual sounds and spoken words, or to learn new vocabulary. For cultural amplification, we're proud to present artists of a variety of backgrounds who celebrate their identities and their work. As a community catalyzer, music bridges generations and allows people to meet each other, including library staff, who in the process of hosting connect with their neighbors in neighboring institutions. And by bringing many of these programs to outdoor spaces, these shows reach audiences who aren't necessarily coming into the library. But in conversation, we're able to enter kind of that thoughtful navigator space, pointing people toward the library and community resources that support the family's well-being and help foster networks for parents and caregivers. And as a resource provider, these programs offer accessible exposure to experiences that normally require fees to access. The Tricycle Music Fest series was a big hit with 8 concerts at 8 library locations. They were attended by about 700 attendees, and at the concerts, we gave away 400 books to children in attendance for their personal libraries. And at each program, as I mentioned, one lucky child won a shiny red tricycle. So I'm going to just share some highlights of the festival. Our first weekend saw Latin Grammy Award winner and author Lucky Diaz perform at the Portola Branch Library and the Glen Park Branch Library. Also, that one was in partnership with Art Walk SF. Lucky shared his hip-shaking Kindy rock and led read-alouds of his books, Paletero Man and La Guitarrista, and all children in the audience went home with signed copies of his books. And you can see it was a really hot day, if everyone remembers that first Saturday in October. But people came out, and they came out in numbers. It was fantastic. And so the following weekend saw Grammy Award winners and authors, the Alphabet Rockers at the West Portal Branch Library and the Maine Children's Center. The Alphabet Rockers brought a high-energy performance of socially conscious hip-hop for children. And like the Lucky Diaz shows the week before, all the children in attendance went home with signed copies of the Alphabet Rockers book, You Are Not Alone. The third weekend of the Tricycle Music Fest brought progressive funk and reggae collective Purple Fox and the Heebie-Jeebies. Purple Fox represented the series' largest act, performing as an 11-piece band at the Excelsior Branch Library and as a tight little 10-piece at the Marina Branch Library. And the Marina Branch was celebrating their open house that day, so it was nice to kind of wrap it all together. And their musical themes of love, kindness, respect, and friendship were a hit with children and adults alike. And finally, Tricycle Music Fest wrapped up with the Jazzy Ash Trio, who brought their jazzy spin on playground songs and rhymes to the Visitation Valley Branch and Ortega Branch libraries. The Jazzy Ash Trio set included classic tunes handed down by Black American folks from the mid-19th century to the early Jazz Age, songs that even the adults in the audience grew up with, but maybe didn't know their origins. So it was very edifying for adults as well. So Tricycle Music Fest is such a blast, and got the theme of kind of all of the teamwork that it takes for something to be successful. So I want to thank publicly the public affairs team for their work in helping to get the word out, the Chief of Branch's leadership for helping to identify the hosting locations for their willingness to host and for promoting the events to their neighborhoods, our delivery services team who made sure that materials and supplies arrived at each show, the facilities division for ensuring that each location was clean and safe, the collections and technical services team for making sure there were books for attendees, the finance team for working with our city vendors, the media services team for ensuring the artists sounded their best, my colleagues in the community programs and partnerships team who helped with everything from securing canopies and weights for the shows to their role as thought partners during the planning stages of the program series, and finally to the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library for their continued support in funding these library programs. I think I am going to turn it over to the city librarian.
Rock on, Ruben, and eat your heart out, outside lands, hardly strictly bluegrass. All right, in closing, for the city librarian's report this evening, I'm pleased to report that the San Francisco Public Library was recently recognized at the state and national levels. We're really proud of the work that's happening in our library system. At the state level, the San Francisco Public Library won the coveted PR Excellence Award from the California Library Association for our Best Things in Life Are Free public relations campaign. So this campaign was conceived to promote many of the popular services here at SFPL. It was timed to coincide with National Library Card Sign-Up Month, because we wanted to bring attention to all the terrific free services available and why everyone should get a free library card. Our graphic designer, Betty Ho, took a clever approach to this effort by creating a brightly colored poster that plays off hand-lettered retro grocery store signage and circulators. The marketing and communications team had fun coming up with the featured coupons like free, fresh park passes and zesty mysteries. Our comms team distributed these posters in high-visibility commercial corridors around the city. Our acting communications director, Jamie Wong, pictured here, and Betty Ho collected our hardware last month in Pasadena at the California Library Association Annual Conference. They were lauded for the campaign being a new, colorful, and commercial take on library marketing, trying something witty and unique for a library system. We also translated it in other languages, so it was highly accessible citywide. Also at the state level, SFPL collected another PR Excellence Award for Bay Beats, leaning on a grassroots outreach marketing strategy to support San Francisco's music scene. This initiative was intended to directly support and bolster musical artists in the Bay Area. Our in-house Bay Beats task force knew that a successful call for submissions would be based on relationship building and making inroads and authentic connections in the local music community to help get the word out. Thus, the marketing strategy relied heavily on old-fashioned one-on-one outreach executed by the task force, many of them musicians themselves and from throughout the organization. To help support outreach efforts, we developed a set of print collateral, bright and colorful branded graphic identity, alluding to both the freight ships that dot the San Francisco Bay, as well as music sound levels. This was the basis for posters, flyers, club cards, and business cards to fit a variety of different display spaces. The messaging emphasized that accepted musicians would receive a $250 honorarium and the opportunity to connect with thousands of new listeners. The outreach efforts of the task force, they researched and created a spreadsheet of 275 contacts throughout the Bay Area, including music schools, record stores, clubs and bars, rehearsal and recording studios, and more. By reaching out via individual phone calls, emails, and in many cases, a personal visit to a storefront, the task force distributed materials at local gathering spots for musicians. Furthermore, a key publicity partnership was formed with Amoeba Music, and they helped share the call for submissions through their monthly newsletter and their popular Instagram account. Ultimately, the Bay Beats call for submissions was a smashing success with more than 600 submissions. Bay Beats was also a big winner at the national level for all the same reasons. At the recent Urban Libraries Council Annual Forum in Philadelphia, Bay Beats garnered the coveted Top Innovator Award in Advocacy and Awareness, that category, for our out-of-the-box thinking that is pushing the envelope for library service delivery. So here are a couple photos of Dolly and me accepting our hardware from the ULC CEO, Brooks Rainwater. And Brian Weaver, our third floor manager and team lead for Bay Beats, he prepared an acceptance video, which I believe is going to play now.
In 2023, San Francisco Public Library launched Bay Beats, a free music streaming platform featuring the diverse talent of the Bay Area. The platform was more successful than we imagined, pulling in an industry record number of submissions, and once it launched, quickly becoming one of the library's most popular e-resources. Relationship building led to the success of the Bay Beats launch. We knew we had to make authentic connections in the local community to help get the word out. So our marketing strategy relied on old-fashioned one-on-one outreach, executed by the Bay Beats team, many of whom are musicians themselves. We recognized the need to work in a new way with trusted names in order to reach more niche populations. We reached out to respected musicians, club DJs, radio DJs, music instructors, and others to enlist as community jurors. They became our Bay Beats ambassadors, letting their extensive networks know about the opportunity to submit music to the platform. We also researched 275 contacts throughout the Bay Area, including music schools, record stores, rehearsal studios, and music clubs to conduct a publicity blitz. Lastly, a key partnership developed with famed Bay Area music store Amoeba Music, who also helped promote the platform. All this work paid off. When the submissions round was over, we had received over 600, which was more than any other library system received during a submissions round. And since we launched the platform in the fall of 2023, visitors to the site have streamed over 60,000 songs, and library card holders have downloaded over 1,000. We continue to promote Bay Beats and support the artists on the platform by booking concerts at the main library and branches. And we collaborated on a Bay Beats Battle of the Bands at the opening of SF MoMA's Art of Noise exhibit. We are grateful to the Urban Libraries Council for recognizing Bay Beats as one of this year's top innovators.
He said it much better than I did. And that concludes the city librarian's report.
Well, once again, this was an amazing set of presentations. Thank you so much. Before we open up for comments and questions from the commission, public comment on this agenda item is now open here in Corrett Auditorium.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association. Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. So first of all, congratulations to all the award winners and all the programs. As usual, as I said, I am happy for what the library does well, but I'm concerned about what the library might also do or do better in other areas. When I saw Bay Beats, I thought, wow, the Beat Poets. But it wasn't the Beat Poets. Maybe a program about the Beat Poets would be interesting as well. And in fact, programs about subject areas of the library's collections. One of the things I've noticed in the annual report and other reports was that what I would consider to be current affairs and important civic matters represented by the book Poverty by America. That was given a lot of effort on the part of the public relations folks. It was given a special featured placement in publicity. There was a program outside the library with the author just, talking at, I forget now the name of the group that sponsored it. And that turned out to be one of the most popular books you've mentioned in your annual report. I would love to see much more of the library doing with respect to civic affairs and world affairs, such as what you walk into a library during the election period, and there was no indication in most of the places I went that there was even any election happening, that there were any of the issues that were concerning people about the country and the world, such as immigration, such as climate, such as a whole range of other things that were significant in the discussion publicly, but no sign of it in the library's physical locations or in much of the material that the library has to offer. So I'd like to see much more of that, including some respect for the role that the library has ongoing in providing newspapers and magazines that keep people or can keep people up to date on some of the matters that affect politics and the world that we live in. So thank you very much. And the book Stop, I thought, was an unfortunate placement, as well as no indication of what the greater library has to offer, including a branch 9 blocks away from the Bayview.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment?
Hello. When I first came to the library 6 years ago, I was very impressed that you guys had recently won the Gale Best Library in the nation. That's really good marketing for the library. You guys got some new awards. hopefully I would like to see another Gale Award, and I have some feedback that can get us closer to that path. Sometimes I forget my earphones, and a couple of months ago, the library staff will give you some earphones that some people have donated, and they were high quality, but they ran out. And they had other earphones that were San Francisco Library earphones, like with the logo, that were not as high quality, but they worked. And it's like nice touches like that that, get you over the top. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for public comment. Any further public comment? Glad that we could get you some headsets. That's great. Seeing no further public comment, is now closed here in Correct. And when I turn it over to the commission for comments and questions, just want to begin by thanking Jen and Ruben for your really wonderful presentations. I learned a lot and was just jazzed by everything I saw, and just to see the images of this auditorium filled with kids again and again and again, it was just really fantastic. So thank you. So any public, Commissioner Ono.
Hi, thanks, Jan and Ruben. The pictures that were in your presentation shows how much the kids really loved both of those events, especially the young boy at the end on the tricycle. I'm assuming he's the one who won the free. But it just adds a lot more when we can't attend the event, but seeing the pictures. So I don't know if your staff did it or who, but it just captures how, how much it means to the children. And so it just kind of it just made me a lot happier. So thank you very much for your two events. But Michael, overall, the staff, again, you guys are always winning awards. And I'm so glad that we won it at state and national. So we're going to go for the world next or international. No. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Any further comments? I just will then conclude by saying thank you so much for what you do for the community and bringing it together and providing incredible resources and opportunities for kids to love to learn and to make learning so enjoyable and joyful. So really appreciate that, getting on the ground doing that with such amazing authors and musicians and supporting their work in the community, which is also so important for making San Francisco so alive and healthy. So really appreciate that. And of course, Bay Beats is just like off the chart successful. And I also want to acknowledge, I've always loved that sign when I walk in the building to sing the best things in life are free. I think it's a great, okay. I'm never allowed to conclude with that. I will stop momentarily and let Commissioner
And
Lopez.
then you can conclude. I promise I'm going to be very brief. I just want to say that I know that we don't do it for awards, we don't do it for, but the innovation, the ideas that come from staff and people and the hard work. So thank you, everyone, for all the. Of course, the awards are great. It's kind of like the icing on the cake, but I know that we're doing it to provide service, to be innovative, and to change the world. So thank you.
Well said. I just wanted to conclude by saying the the materials that were developed were really outstanding. I think it just falls on the footsteps of what the annual report looks like. There's something really fabulous happening in terms of how we are communicating with our multiple different publics. So I appreciate that. And just keep showing us, Michael, what your team is doing and what this incredible staff of the library is producing each and every day here. It's wonderful to be introduced to some of these projects I didn't even know were happening. So it was great. So thank you very much. We will now move to item number 6, which is adjournment. And we will open it up for public comment before we have comment from the commission. Public comment's now open.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You all have particular knowledge, skills, talents, intelligence, and perspectives. And as the policy-setting body, I certainly wish that you were more active in being aware of policy, of being aware of changes, and also asking questions and making comments. Today, for example, when I said that the circulation of print is very strong, and in fact, on the annual report shows 7.5 million for physical, 6.5 million for electronic. But I did notice that the vice president of the commission shook his head vigorously. And I certainly appreciate any kind of correction, but I think it implies maybe we need to look at some figures more exactly. I may have said that the funding, I think, has been more for ebooks than for print. The numbers are very close. And yet print is still stronger than ebooks. There are also questions about how all those measurements are made. Those are potentially good things to take up in future so we can all understand what's going on, what's going, and why. And I appreciated last time one of the commissioners adding to what I had said about a controversy concerning Mr. Paley. I appreciated that. And perhaps today he had to show that he was definitely not going to pay any attention to what I say to make up for that slip of paying attention. In any case, you certainly have knowledge, ability, and other than being a cheering squad, I think that there are some serious issues with respect to the library that would do well to be elucidated and made clear, including particularly the hours. And other issues of privacy and issues of what's harmful for people and why, and whether you should be touting that stuff. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. As we move to adjournment, I just wanted to once again thank the Friends of the, oh, one more, sorry.
Thank you, Margot. On behalf of the labor team, we just wanted to extend a happy holiday season to everyone. It's been pretty somber with the election, federal results a little over 2 weeks ago. So we just wanted to extend that to everyone, to you and yours.
So 3 months ago, I came to one of these meetings the first time, and I had a request that you guys bring a second copy of the Wall Street Journal because we were literally fighting over just one copy, and it happened. Now we have two, and everything's great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment here in Corrette? Seeing there's no further public comment, want to thank those who made comment today. Thank you very much. And public comments now concluded. Now I'll just say, as we move to adjournment, thank you to the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library for all of your support today. It was very clear that you were a thread running through everything that was happening. And I also want to encourage people to visit their e-commerce shop as we move towards the holiday season, and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. So do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Mall and a second from Commissioner Lopez to adjourn today's meeting.
And I'll take the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. President Wolf?
Aye.
Vice President Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Ono?
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez?
Aye.
Commissioner Bolander?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously, and this meeting is now concluded, and have a happy Thanksgiving, and see you in December.